Genetics can be passed down, but then the lifestyle. And so if we have a congested lymphatic system, which is 4 times bigger than the blood, so we have two fluid-based systems in the body. And so to keep this analogy really simple, I like to use the fishbowl analogy. So the fish represents our cell and the water represents the terrain. If that fishbowl gets dirty, do we need to inject something in it? Do we need to give it more protein? Do we need to add more vitamins even for that fish to be healthy? It's like, no, we simply have to clean the tank.
Welcome to Superior Mind Body Health Podcast. I am your host, Monika Banach, and I have Karri Tidwell here with me for, I think, at least the third time on this podcast. We've done several Facebook and YouTube interviews and podcast interviews, and she is like one of the most knowledgeable people that I know personally in the whole regenerative field and just self-healing and basically just understanding how the body works. Like I work in the medical field, but Karri knows this stuff on a different level. She's healed so many people from inside out, not just with not with pills, but with just natural healing, mental work, and all that stuff. So, welcome, Karri.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I kind of like introduced you a little bit. Is there anything you want to add? I mean, I know there's so much with your resume and who you are, but is there anything that you want to add to what I said about you?
Yeah, I got into regenerative health for my own need for healing, and I was, misdiagnosed at going to doctors, having all these weird symptoms in my body, getting lightheaded when I stood up. I had chronic pain. I wasn't diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, but I had all the symptoms of it. I had a hard time getting up in the morning, and I never felt well rested. I used to get like really bad sweaty hands and feet, and anyhow, tons of symptoms that were not normal, were common, but just not normal for the body to have. But it was the way my body was trying to communicate with me. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. So, we're just conditioned to go to the doctor. And so getting misdiagnosed, something intuitively was like, they don't really have answers for me. I have to figure this out on my own. And that's when I laid down that prayer and was like, I have to just find another way. There's got to be natural ways to heal. This isn't normal for me to feel 90 in my 20s and 30s. And so from there is when I discovered regenerative health, and that really helped transform my life about 8 years ago. And so I've always been into health and holistic health, but now I really understand the body from a cellular level, which really helps me understand yeah, if we can take a cell and make it healthy, we can also degenerate. And so I learned about epigenetics, once we give it the right environment, it's amazing how things can repair. And so just these foundational truths and principles that I abided by that I'll share more here is really life-changing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, especially going through that journey of your own healing and understanding your body and being able to understand what your patients or your clients go through. I think that's so powerful. Not to say that you can't be a great regenerative healer, but it's just like when you go through it yourself and you see the change from before and after, and you actually believe that it can happen, it's so transformational for sure. So today our topic that we're going to discuss is the prevalence of anxiety and depression. We're going to touch more on the anxiety side because we do both. I mean, they kind of both go together a lot of times, but primarily we're going to focus on anxiety and just how statistically, the increase in anxiety and depression um, contributes to what's going on in society and in people, the factors that contribute to the rise in anxiety and depression, and kind of like how technology, social media, and all those things impact anxiety, how we feel. We're going to give you some tips and tricks and just kind of discuss things about it. So recently, actually, I read that there's a 25% global increase of anxiety and depression since COVID. I mean, it was
Hmm.
bad before, but since COVID, it has increased significantly. What are your thoughts on, Karri, on why has this happened? Like what is the biggest contributor to the increase in anxiety?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I mean, there's multiple things, but I think, fear, when we're in a state of fear and what can happen with so many unknowns. I mean, they shut down everything in 2020 and people didn't understand, what COVID was. And so I think just a lot of anxiety comes from that root of fear of not trusting, right? Not trusting our bodies, not trusting the government, not trust, really, it comes back down to. And then I think too, the busyness of life and the demand on all the social pressures and all the fast-paced lifestyle, I think too, can induce some anxiety and fear. And usually if someone is presenting with anxiety or having these symptoms of it, it's diet and lifestyle related. So, are we doing too much, or do we ever take time to listen to our body and actually try to hear what it's trying to say to us? I grew up and I didn't really, and we can look at our patterns, right, of like how we were raised, because a lot of times we don't know that we're acting in a certain way or things are happening in our body because of the patterns and belief systems that we created from childhood or even from when we were in our mom's womb. So I like to say, genetics loads a gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So even if we're pre-genetically disposed to, if like our mom had anxiety or dad and then we have that, we can also change that. And so just because, someone was labeled with a diagnosis, it doesn't mean that has to be. And we're seeing more and more kids, on medications for it. And really it's looking at diet and lifestyle, I think is such a huge factor with anxiety.
Very well said. And a lot of my patients that are on like anti-anxiety and depression medications, they always are on something for it. It's just, I mean, we talked about this before. It's like putting a band-aid on what's going on in your mind, in your body. We're not saying here don't take medications, or certainly don't just get off of them if you've been on anti-anxiety medications for a long time, because you have to consult your physician. We're not giving medical advice. We're just discussing our knowledge and expertise in this field. But if let's say someone is on anti-anxiety medication and they feel like this is their only way, like they've been on it for years, 10 years, however many years, and they feel like that fear of stopping it, or like what do you have to say to people that are in that stage or in that state?
Yeah, well, first, if I would ask if they're wanting to get off it, because some people identify with their diagnosis and that's like their crutch and they want to stay on
Mm.
medication. So I really get clear of if somebody is wanting to get off medication and they're like how we were, right? I know there's another way. There's got to be a natural solution for this. First, I make that really clear of that's kind of how I work, to see if it's in alignment for that person. Because some people don't want to change their diet and lifestyle. But if somebody does want to change, then there are solutions. There is hope. There is another way. And I witnessed it on my own self and seen other people. Now, for example, my dad was on high blood pressure medication that was keeping him alive. He didn't want to change his diet and lifestyle. So there is a time and place for medicine, and I'm so grateful my dad, was able to stay alive longer because of that. But of course, part of me wanted him to change, but then I had to let go of what I wanted for him, and he had to make that decision. And so just having that detached compassion, no matter who we're speaking with, but if somebody is wanting to change, usually I like to do education with somebody of like, where does that, what gland or what body part is affected, and everything's connected, but the adrenal glands are connected with anyone that has anxiety. And so questions that can come up when I do a health questionnaire, so I just have that here. So the adrenal glands have, a lot of function in the body. They sit right on top of the kidneys and control the function of the kidneys. And so some symptoms could be someone that's struggling with weight or having a hard time with sugar metabolism. Somebody could have be diagnosed with MS, ALS, Parkinson's. Like all of these are signs of adrenal stuff, which
Mm.
also
Wow.
can present as anxiety. Anxiety, if somebody is diagnosed with anxiety, that connects back to the adrenal glands. Excessive shyness and inferiority complex. I definitely had that growing up.
Wow.
Tremors or nervous leg, cardiac arrhythmia, high blood pressure, low blood pressure. That was another symptom that I had was extremely low blood pressure. And when I would go to the doctor, they would say, "Oh, your blood pressure is good," but it would be in like the 90s, the top number. So the another thing to share is the top number represents adrenals, the bottom, the kidneys. And so ideal blood pressure is 120 over 60. I know that the medical field says 120 over 80, but I would think, as you go to 80s and above, it's too high. So we like it between, 120, 130, and then over like 60, 70 is ideal. So that's another way to non-invasively check your kidney and adrenals. And if it's low, we want to get it up naturally. And if it's high, of course, we want to get that low. And that can be shifted a lot through diet and lifestyle changes. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, diabetes, usually adrenals are contributing to that. And tinnitus, if somebody has tinnitus, usually adrenal glands again, cardiac arrhythmia, sleeping challenges, and any
Wow.
itises. So the adrenal glands are responsible for producing the cortisol. And so you hear about people as they get older. And so this is something to think about too. If somebody does have a diagnosis with anxiety, the adrenal glands aren't functioning at their optimal rate that they could. And so as you get older and you have like aches and pains or inflammation, then you go to the doctor and they put cortisone shot.
Mm,
Um, that can be helpful, right? Because that's what our adrenal glands are supposed to do, but it also further weakens the adrenal glands.
mm,
And then our body will stop making cortisol. So we're relying on these external things. And same with medication, right? If we're having to
yeah.
take medication, then our body's going to have to rely on that. And so I really like to tell people to be proactive. So if you have any of these signs and symptoms of low blood pressure or high blood pressure or um yeah, the sweaty hands and feet, that's what I had that, but that can also be related to thyroid too. ADD, ADHD, autism, all, the adrenal glands just need to be supported. And so it's hard to talk about anxiety without going back to the adrenals. And then I usually share, okay, what suppresses the function of the adrenal glands? And usually it's, like I said, genetics can be passed down, but then the lifestyle. And so if we have a congested lymphatic system, which is 4 times bigger than the blood, so we have two fluid-based systems in the body, and the blood feeds our cells, and the lymphatic system is responsible for cleaning the waste out. And so to keep this analogy really simple, I like to use the fishbowl analogy. Like if you have a fish in a fishbowl, so the fish represents our cell and the water represents the terrain. If that fishbowl gets dirty, do we need to inject something in it? Do we need to
Mm,
give it more protein? Do we need to add more vitamins even or put herbs in it? It's like for that fish to be healthy. It's like, no, we simply have to clean the tank. And so we have 100 trillion cells that make up our adrenal glands, our liver, our kidneys, all our endocrine glands, our whole body. And so in order to keep that fish, these cells healthy, we have to feed it, but we also have to clean it. And a lot of people aren't getting the cellular waste out properly because of diet and lifestyle and stuff passed down. And this is why we're seeing kids younger and younger having things because we're not having this awareness to like get our body healthy before even passing this down to our kids. And so it's no one's fault. It's just, that's how our society was. And so that's why I have a huge passion of sharing, we can turn things around and the body is so forgiving. It's so forgiving. I mean, I had a hard time getting out of bed in my 20s and 30s. I'm now in my 40s and I feel better and stronger than I did back then. So I really feel we can heal when we give it optimal conditions. And the body is the healer. We just have to get out of the way and clean, really removing obstructions to the flow of energy and clean the tank. I could take a pause there. I could go on forever, but that's
gosh, that's so, I mean, Carrie, as you list all those symptoms of like adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency, like I literally can like pinpoint like a lot of my friends that have anxiety and like I don't know, I mean, I'm in the medical field, but I never connected the adrenals to anxiety. Think of like nervous system or
yeah.
whatever. And like even like sleep, when you mention sleep, a lot of times what doctors will do is like they put you on either cortisol shots because you're having pains and aches, or they put you on sleeping pills because you're not sleeping well. And again, that cortisol it's out of balance. And again, it's like we're putting band-aid on top of another band-aid on top of another band-aid instead of like going into the root cause and healing the adrenals or whatever else that's going on. So let's say somebody says that, those are all the symptoms they're experiencing. How do you start with healing the adrenals? Like what do you start with that?
Yeah, so I like to do health questionnaires because I like to ask questions and look at the body as a whole, right? Because some people can
Mm.
have digestive stuff, as a factor too, because we want to, remove stuff in the GI tract because a lot of people can have congestion there as well. Just like we can be constipated in our colon, we can be constipated in our lymphatic system, which
Mhm.
suppresses the functions of things. And so I like to ask a lot of questions and then also about lifestyle. Are you packing too much in your day and you're not giving yourself rest? How are your relationships? How is your relationship with yourself? I mean, that's the most important, but with other people, with food, do you take time for yourself? Do you do breath work? Like, do you, yeah, listen to those signals? Because I like to say it's like a car that has a check engine light on. And I've used this analogy, I think, with you before. If we just like cover it up with a band-aid, we're not going to get to the root of it. But our life is kind of like our compass of if we do have symptoms, it's trying to talk to us. And so we haven't been conditioned to know what to do about that. Our program is to go to the doctor to get something to fix it. And I want to fix it now in this like microwave fast-paced society. And I think that's the problem. That's a big part of the problem. And I remember feeling overwhelmed here in the States. And I was like, I just want to sell everything and live simple. And I did that about 12 years ago. I moved to Puerto Rico and just for my nervous system. And I didn't know I was doing it for
Oh, I
that reason.
didn't
I
know
didn't know it was,
that. You moved to Puerto Rico?
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, with
gosh.
my
Yeah.
5-year-old daughter, I just was like, I don't like this fast-paced life. Like there's
Yeah.
something in me that, yeah, I didn't like the way I saw Western medicine go with like covering things up. They're amazing for
Hmm.
emergencies and so many things. So
Yes.
they're there for a huge reason, but I also didn't align with that along with the lifestyle of mainstream society. I was like, I just wanted to do something different. And so I just, yeah, saved up enough and just wanted to live simple. Just kind of like how I cleaned my body out before. I was like doing that with my life. And yeah, where can we clean up in our life? And we can even look at our rooms. Is there clutter places? Is there like how we do anything is how we do everything, and start to look at these lifestyle habits or patterns that we have. If we don't like something about ourselves or about our life, that's an opportunity to witness that and then make a conscious decision to do something different. And that's
Mm.
what I did. And it was like one of the most freeing, fun years of my life. And I just like trusted in where I was supposed to go next. I didn't have a plan. Not saying that people have to do this, but um, but doing
That's
that, it did
incredible. That
come.
just proves to you how much something just like taking a break from the fast-paced society, we feel like we need more things and this and that, but that actually creates more stress. Like when
Yep.
I first started meditating, it was awful, Carrie. Like I could not even sit still for 1 minute. I was like, my brain would just keep like going 100 miles per hour. And
Mm,
and I mean now it's better, but with time, a lot of times people will like give up the first week or 2 weeks, like I can't do it. I'm not good at this, forget it. But it's just you have to meet yourself where you're at and don't judge yourself. Good points on like the whole topic of like decreasing the noise in life and just everything.
you reminded me of when I lived in Puerto Rico. What I loved was I loved falling asleep to the coquis and like hearing natural noise. It's kind of like a
Yes.
natural sound, but they don't go all night. They go kind of like you
Mhm.
said, like the first hour if you're trying to go to sleep, and then they yeah, quiet down. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was just at a waterfall yesterday and I was like, this is like natural white noise. So it's nice to have that quiet time, but then it also was nice to like not have that like like that
Hmm.
constant.
So the
Uh,
natural white noise is actually fine, like like
mhm.
sound waves or rain waves, like that is fine because it's natural, but not the synthetic like white
Yeah.
noise that we're not supposed like our brain is not used to. Like that's not
Yeah.
supposed to be natural.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, well,
very
that's nice that
interesting.
you experimented with that. And if I would say if somebody's having a hard time with sleep, like that's where breath work can be really helpful. And this is something I noticed in my body of, and I can show some other signs and symptoms of like nervous system support. So when you look at the eyes, there's these thing called nerve rings or contraction furrows that if they're prevalent in the eyes, then that person needs a lot more support with the mind stuff of like, slowing down and supporting the nervous system. I'll just show what that looks like. So if you haven't heard of iridology, there's this like map that can show like there's a
Mm,
colon here, the endocrine glands here, the brain area here, the kidneys here, adrenal is right here. And so if you see this spot in your eye and it's on your right and left side, where it's like right where the colon is,
mm,
the bridge or end of it, this is where if you see any spots here or anything indication of anyhow, I usually when I read eyes, I can show you what that looks like, but if you see that, then the adrenal glands need more support. And it's amazing what we can see in the eyes too. And these are the rings that are pretty easy to see in eyes. So if you like take a flashlight and kind of look in the mirror or take a photo of your eye, this is what, I don't know if you can see that there, the
yeah.
rings look like. They look like rings kind of all around there. And that is presenting as that person might have a busy mind. It's hard to shut it off. They might need more minerals. So like hydration and green drinks can be really supportive for that person. Walks in nature. This is like part of my life. I try to get out in nature all the time and not just like walk around the block, but like actually go to a forest where it's quiet and you hear the birds and you hear, the crickets and just be with yourself. And you can do breath work too before you go to bed. So I notice with people that have that, they tend to hold tension. This is myself, especially when going through traumatic, in life, we're all going to experience some type of traumatic things that happen. So when my dad was in the hospital and we knew he was going to pass, it was like my body didn't know how to relax. So I would like my shoulders would be like this and I would just hold tension and until somebody like went like this gently and I put my shoulders down. I didn't even know I was doing that. And so anyone that has those rings, it can be really easy to just hold tension. And at night, I notice I do that sometimes too. So once you have that awareness, you can start to tell your body it's safe, it's okay, and then take a few breaths and just relax your nervous system. And that simple thing of just like slowly breathing in through the nose and then slowly breathing out, having the exhale a little longer than the inhale. You do that 3 times, it completely shifts your nervous system right away. And so that's
Mm.
a simple free tool that anyone can use at any time. And that's really supportive. And that's a great thing to do right before you go to bed and think about, yeah, if you have a question, you ask yourself that, like, yeah, maybe this can be revealed in a dream, or have a gratitude practice of being grateful for all the things your body does that you don't even have awareness of. It digests for you. It is always working for you, never, never against you. So if that's one thing I can impart is if our body produces more water, edema, right, it's there to help protect us in some way. So it's always working for us.
Mm.
And so any symptoms that we have, it's trying to communicate something with us, no matter what that is, whether it's skin stuff, adrenal stuff, anxiety presenting, it's happening because something's out of balance with their life. And that's trying to tell us to get back on track. So I like to use it as a compass of like, okay, I'm having these symptoms. Now I know what I can do, or I know there's another way to go about that. And it can simply be starting with breath work, starting with eating real whole foods, more hydrating, alkalizing foods. That's going to help clean the terrain. And there's an art to cleansing and detox. So it's not like do a detox and go back to old ways, but it's like making these lifestyle changes so you don't have to do detoxes all the time, or you don't have to do diet and go back to this diet to that diet, just to really tune in and listen to your body.
For a lot of people, especially once they're on taking medications for anxiety or depression, it's so overwhelming, a lot of this stuff. I know that it takes time. It could even take months to a year or longer. It's a never-ending process of working on those things and not shoving things underneath and actually letting those emotions and things come out or whatever it is that's going on in your life. Like how would you inspire someone that is in that stage when they feel like there's just so much they want to do it, but it's so much, it's expensive, it's going to take time. How do you even start with people like that to inspire them to believe that can your body can heal?
Well, if you want to learn more about like epigenetics, look up Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he does a great job explaining that. Like, if something's in a healthy environment, it can start to change. And so our belief system too, our thoughts are so powerful. So if we believe something is expensive, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Health can be so simple and easy because actually less is more. And really simplifying can make such a huge difference. And when I moved to Puerto Rico and did simplify, I liked that slower paced lifestyle. I wasn't busy. I wasn't obligated to go to family things because I didn't have family there. So it was kind of nice to remove myself. But I also have what I'm noticing is my own patterns of running away. So I have a pattern of like, yes, while that was good for me, I also like was running from other things that I didn't know I was running from. Because we can be running on our subconscious and we don't even know we're aware of maybe childhood stuff that we're running from that we just don't even have the awareness because we're in survival mode. So I also was in survival mode, but at the same time wanted to unplug from everything. But now, coming back to the States, I started to get back into that busyness. And so I didn't really, so I got a taste of what that was like. And I was like, oh, I want that slower paced lifestyle and just like not filling up my days too much because I felt like I had to do all these things. And so really we can look at our life and what does an ideal day for me look like? And if I'm living in my highest best self, what time do I wake up? How do I take care of myself? Do I exercise? How do I talk to myself? And if the way I talk to myself, I wouldn't talk to a best friend or a little 5-year-old girl, then start there. It could be these simple things like be the observer of our life. And then we can
Mm.
start to be like, okay, and this is something that's been happening to me. I'm even recognizing patterns that I've had from childhood, from belief systems I created for survival. And so we can look at those things. And I was sharing this analogy yesterday with somebody of, there was a point where we needed that umbrella for the rain. And sometimes we're still holding that umbrella, but it's not raining anymore. And so
Oh,
where in your
wow.
life are you holding on to that umbrella where you can let it go now? And so really looking at your life as your compass and your life as really your medicine to what you need to do next. And so is it have that conversation with a partner? Is that if you're getting really frustrated with your kids, that's a reflection of some internal stuff that you can look at. And because it's never the kids' fault, it's usually like the parents are passing down these things. And I noticed this within myself with my, because my dad yelled a lot because he was very angry because he was holding on to a lot of things. And so I notice like I want those, I start to go to those tendencies and I catch myself. So it's not about being perfect, but it's about breaking these generational patterns and cycles that we want to do
Mm.
something different about. And so if we want different for our kids, it starts with recognizing this in our own self and our own patterns and belief systems and changing it. And so I think it's more expensive to not pay attention and have all these medications and all these things later. I was talking with someone a couple days ago and she had such low energy, which is also a sign of adrenal stuff. If you crash at 3 o'clock or you're feeling really tired and you don't have that dynamic energy and you need coffee or caffeine to stay awake, that's a sign of adrenal stuff. And that can and also affect anxiety later on too if someone's not diagnosed with that or presenting with that. And she was saying she would spend thousands of anyone that told her this will help with energy. This will, so she's putting band-aid after band-aid, even if it was natural, but not getting to the root cause. And she was so into the energetics and not paying attention to the physical body, where she was so desperate that, and I've never heard this story before, but I was kind of laughing, but
Mhm.
also like this is the state of where people are in. And you can tell me if you've heard of this because I'm not in the medical field, but she said she literally had to get part of her butt cheek cut open to put some type of tablet, a testosterone tablet in her butt to
What?
help with. Yeah, and I've never heard of this before. Not in her butthole, but like, like in her
Yeah.
skin on her butt cheek,
Huh.
to help with energy. And that's how desperate she was. And so she
Wow.
connected with a friend who's part of our regenerative health community, and she shared, let's bring in these foods that are grown in a regenerative way and just like do this lifestyle change. And it hasn't even been more than 3 weeks, and she's like cannot believe the energy she has because she's now eating more real food. She's like let go of all the processed garbage food that depletes our energy and some more dehydrating, and she's just like so excited to now connect all of this stuff because she thought everything was all the energy, all of that side of things. But really, our body is I like to say our body is like a tuning fork for the divine. And so if our body's presenting with some type of symptom, it's just trying to get a tune up, right?
Yeah.
Of listening to it instead of covering things up. And so anyhow, I was laughing with her about that story of like that's how desperate she was to get that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's so grateful that her friend shared this with her. That's why I'm such a big proponent of regenerative health, knowing where our food comes from, and growing as much as we can on our own. And if we can't, supporting, the company that we're connected with that grows food in regenerative way and picks it at peak ripeness and when dehydrates it. And so sometimes bringing in this good nutrition can, turn the lights on. And that's what she
Mm.
said. It's like it turned the lights on in her
Yeah.
body.
I have to share something, Carrie, because you have introduced me to Purium, the superfoods that we use, which is probably one of the most incredible superfoods or foods shakes that I've ever used. And I think it's been about 6 months ago, and I haven't changed like my diet. Every so often I'll still eat like something processed and stuff, but I've been getting using those shakes pretty much once or twice a day. And I use different ones. But I recently got my labs done, like cholesterol and all that stuff, triglycerides, the LDL, HDL, and it has significantly like decreased just from using. I really think because I haven't changed anything else really, but I have to show you my results because I was just like mind blown. They were like, are these like real or not? Like it just naturally how much it has changed, like how much better I feel, my energy, because it does have all those adaptogenics and fruits and veggies that support our body and our detox system. And you can never like I feel like I can never eat enough vegetables. Like you go to a store, I mean, you have to get organic. If you don't get even the organic stuff is always not always the best because Purium actually picks the food when it's the fruit or vegetables when it's ripe. And most
Yep.
stores wait, they pick it like a week earlier. We're missing out on so many nutrients when that happens. It's like pulling the baby out of the womb like way early. And so it's just incredible how just a little change. That's why, like, when you feel overwhelmed, like trying to change everything in your diet, don't try to take away stuff, just add things. Don't take
Hmm.
away if you're eating a hamburger every single day or fast food, maybe just add something that over time it's going to make you feel better. And then naturally, you are going to say no to some of those junk foods because you'll see how different you feel.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great place to start. I like that you said that. It's like you don't have to be perfect, right? It's just
Mhm.
because we're forever transforming and evolving. And so it's about just recognizing where you're at and just start bringing things in that's going to make you feel better. And it could be just adding more fruits and vegetables. And another thing that I'll add is where fruit gets a bad rap is if we eat it on top of a meal. So if we eat a big meal and we eat fruit as a dessert, it can cause more fermentation in the body. And that can throw off blood sugar levels. So it's nice to eat the fruits first. So I'd like to usually do something like nice and hydrating in the morning, like lemon water or watermelon if it's in season in the summer. Whatever juicy fruits in season, I usually like to start my day with something like that when I'm hungry. A lot of times we don't eat when we're actually hungry. We just eat because we think we need to eat. And
Mhm.
so, and this was my whole life. I was not in tune with my body because I was just doing what I was told. And I have developed these patterns of eat everything on your plate because you don't want to waste. I still struggle with that sometimes because I'm like, was I really hungry or did I need to eat that because I didn't want to throw it away? So these are questions that I still have to, ask myself. And yeah, it's funny how that can be passed down. And my dad was like that. He would like get stuff out of the garbage and be like, you didn't eat this good enough type of thing. And so like that got passed down to me. And so I'm recognizing certain tendencies that I have. And so yeah, laugh about, the things that we go through of like funny things that we get passed down and um yeah, enjoying life, a lot of too anxiety. It's like, are you taking time to have fun? Are you taking time to laugh? I mean, that's amazing for your body in so many ways. If you're sitting across from somebody and you're upset with them or
Mhm.
you're angry about something, that's a really important sign that your body is not ready to digest food. And a lot of
Mm.
times we can eat our emotions, right, of like stuff suppressed to not have to actually have that conversation, to not deal with that.
Uh,
And that's, something that I had to work through as well of like, am I actually hungry? And if something's not right, have that conversation instead of just stuff and suppress. And it can be easy, right? If we go through a breakup, it's like get the tub of ice cream or like suppress
mhm.
these feelings that are coming up. And now there's, a time and place. It's not what you do the odd day, it's what you do on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
I'm yeah, more flexible with things like that. Like enjoy life, but also recognize the
Mhm.
patterns. And if you're not having the desired outcome that you want, then you can start to make these shifts and changes.
I'm very familiar with this process because I am a recovering emotional eater. And
Hmm.
that's suppressing your emotions.
Hmm.
Whenever I'm stressed, some people don't eat. I don't want to eat, but I would like eat just so I could suppress those emotions because it changes the chemistry in your body. When
Hmm.
you get
Yeah.
stuffed or you eat something that's high carb or maybe sugar, and it just kind of gives you a certain
Endorphins and
signal
yeah.
to, yeah, your dopamine serotonin receptors and stuff. And so it's been a very very challenging thing to break, because I realized that I started doing this back when I moved here to the States when I was 15. And every time I would get home, I would suppress my emotions, my frustrations, like trying to learn English and being bullied in school, in high school. And I would just come home and I would just eat, like, while sitting in my bedroom. And that's how I coped with those emotions as a child. I didn't know how to release that. So I created that habit.
Yep.
And then when I got to my, 20s and 30s, it's been very challenging to break. I'm still working on it every day.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
yeah, same. I mean, it,
yeah.
it can still happen, and that's your right. You had that umbrella because that gave you
Mhm.
that comfort at that time, but now the bullying isn't happening, but your belief
Yep.
system about having to suppress something is still there, and so yeah, and maybe it has to do with forgiveness. Like, have you gone and done that forgiveness work of like not saying what they did was right, but like letting it go out of your body to free yourself? And yeah, a lot of times too, like I said, the adrenals are on top of the kidneys, and usually kidneys are related with fear, forgiveness, and things like this. So that could be the work, that could be the medicine that you're needing, is to go back and do that with yourself, right? As well as whoever else that you might be holding on to things. Because we all go through some type of traumatic thing, whether it's that or something else. It could be something that you don't even think is that traumatic, but you created this belief system of the world isn't safe. And it could stem from being four and watching your dad yell at your sister for something, and you're like, it's not safe to speak, so you hold your voice, and then someone has thyroid problems or a tumor, or goiter on their thyroid. Like all of these things can present in different ways, and it usually stems from getting, a belief system, diet and lifestyle things and patterns that we're not even aware of. Um, that's like in our subconscious, right? So once you have that awareness, then you can be like, okay, I can have compassion for that little girl who needed that comfort, and to let, doing like some inner child work stuff can be helpful of knowing that she's still with you, and that she's safe, and you can rewrite that story. You can reprogram those patterns.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been doing a lot of work on that actually. It's literally been like 2 months ago when I figured this out, Carrie. Like I had no idea. I was like, where is this coming from? Where is these bad habits coming from?
Mhm.
And I've been working with my coach, my Tony Robbins coach, for probably a couple years now. And like I literally just like it just came up like 2 months ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is stemming from like
Mhm.
childhood, like in my teenage. And I never realized that. I was always beating myself. Oh, I am not I'm not motivated, I'm not consistent, I'm this and that. So
Mhm.
just judging myself instead of
Mhm.
just being compassionate and realizing whatever that is, it's coming from somewhere deeper, whether it's
Yeah.
subconscious or previous experiences. and how my body perceived it. And again,
Yeah,
like you said, some people do experience like true trauma, but it was never like anything like super traumatic for me. But my body perceived it as fear and
totally.
trauma. So
Yep.
it's
And
just
that
very,
was traumatic. Yeah, and that is
yeah,
traumatic.
yeah,
It doesn't feel good to be made fun of and to not feel like you can be yourself and
absolutely.
then and not have somebody explain that to you as a young kid, and then you just create these belief systems that you don't even know. And so it's nice when you can start to pinpoint the root of it. And I also feel like sometimes these challenges come into our lives to help us evolve. And
Mm,
so it's how we look at it and how we talk to ourselves, right? Because you said you were beating yourself up and same, and often hear like, oh, I'm
mm,
stupid or I'm this or I'm that, or
yeah.
these are all like signals and signs that why are you talking to yourself like that? Would you talk to your 5-year-old child like that? And so when you start to just be the observer, take yourself out of the drama, the trauma, and just be a watcher of your thoughts, this can be really helpful to see what's coming in because we can't control what's coming in. But once we have awareness of these patterns, then we can make necessary steps to start to shift them and look at it from a different perspective of like, it's amazing our bodies are always working for us, even if we overeat, even if we fall off and get back on. It's like the most beautiful form of love of how our bodies treat us. Because we can abuse it, we can drink a lot and do all these things, and then it still is always trying to help us heal and serve, yeah, with all the ways it works. It's just like once you start to look at it, like our little cells rely on us to take care of it
Mm,
by what we're thinking. And in a really simple way to think about that is like, have you ever been in love and felt this like euphoric of like you just feel so happy and it's like every cell in your body feels happy
mm,
and euphoric and
yes.
like you just and then have you ever been angry and you feel tense and tight and you just want to hurt something and like so our thoughts do affect our body and our cells are listening to our thoughts. So it's like, what are we telling ourselves? What are we telling those little fishes
Mm,
that, and we can speak what we want. Like, what if we're not liking where we're at? Like, what do you want? Get really clear on where you want to go and start, mapping that out and looking at your life as a whole. Like, how are your relationships with yourself, with other people, your home life? How's your environment? How's your relationship with food?
mm.
And oftentimes we need to reparent ourselves, and that's what I'm noticing. I didn't have like structure and healthy boundaries and different things, and I wanted to be rescued as a child because I didn't have my mom. And so then I found myself wanting to rescue other people to the detriment of my own health, of like I'd give because that's what I wanted. And so it's interesting when you start to see these patterns, and then you can get really clear and then map out your day of what that ideal day looks like. Yeah, how you eat,
That's
um,
so,
how
so
you,
good, Carrie. Oh my gosh. It's like I'm like literally like my hamsters in my brain are just like spinning right now. I'm like so, so good. Just when you mentioned the whole like, when you're in love versus when you're angry, how your body feels. That's so true. Your thoughts create emotions in our body, and those emotions create feelings and actions after that. It's all interconnected. You can't I mean, it's incredible how our body works, and I know I've been hard on myself for a very long time and created those, the stress, anxiety, worry, all that stuff. Some of it is generational, like seeing our parents, like my mom was, she worries all the time. She was like the worry junkie in the family. And then you embody that worry, like you were like connect with that. And it's so hard to break that as a child. And then as you grow up, and I don't know, like, I wish there was like maybe more help and more people like you, for instance, that we can like reach out to instead of just like, this is how it is, deal with it. This society of like, just deal with it, deal with your life. Don't, instead of just sitting down and giving yourself the permission to feel the emotions, feel
Mhm.
whatever it is that's coming out through your body, and instead of holding on, especially men are just known for holding on a lot of stuff like tears, women too, but it's
Yep.
just so important to really connect with our bodies. And
Yeah. Yeah, you
it's
got to feel it to heal it. is what I
Yes.
like to say. And so many times we can suppress, avoid, run. I notice all these
Mhm.
patterns that I've had. I've been running since I was a teenager. And so yeah, and I was recognizing my tendency to want to run from something instead of deal with it. I've stuffed, I've suppressed, avoided, right? Of distractions too, and when we have all these distractions. So that's why it's nice to get clear of like what do you want? And this is something I'm continuously working on because I didn't have organization and structure. And so that's something that I'm wanting more of. And yeah, and having compassion for yourself of and we're here to break these cycles. I really feel like we're here to have the awareness and start to shift. So it's not that our parents are wrong, it's just they did the best that they knew how. And a lot of times it can be healing that relationship with the mom and dad. And that's like huge in
Mm,
balancing masculine, feminine energy within ourselves. Because that, when things are out of balance and, we can have different symptoms too presenting. And so it's nice to have, yeah, that forgiveness piece and just like our heart beats without us having to think about it. And
yeah.
like just like if you think about the love of your body for yourself and how it always wants to keep you alive, like you can't help but smile like in
Yeah.
gratitude. And so like a lot of times I'll do an abdominal massage in the morning and I'll just put my hands on my uterus and just be grateful for life and that I can create life and birth so much, even if you've never birthed a baby. It's like this energy center of creation
Mhm.
and even putting your hand on your heart, like, thank you for beating, even though I don't even have to think about it. And like all of the work that your body does for you, why would we ever want to talk bad to it? It's always here for us. And so when you start to shift your perception of how your body is, you start to love every part and look in the mirror and love every inch of you, even if it doesn't look like how you think it should look. And I think too, society, it puts a lot of pressure on what women should look like and be like. And it's just, have you ever met somebody where maybe they weren't in the best shape, but their energy was just amazing? You could tell they had like they just exuded life and fun and confidence. It's like that's it doesn't matter about just looks. It's the energy too. And also like yes, take care of your body, exercise and do these things, but not to the point of I have to do this because my body isn't right. It's always right. You're exactly where you need to be right now. And all of your life experiences had to happen for you. And that was a big shift I had to do too of how
Mm,
is this happening for me right now? I don't care if you're in the hardest, toughest place you are in right now.
mm,
How is this happening for you? Because I guarantee you 5 to 10 years from now, or even maybe earlier, you might look back and be like, I had to go through that to get to where I am now. I had to go through a tough divorce and not having my mom to be the mom I am today. I
mm,
I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't have that experience. And so now when I'm going through a hard time, I surrender a lot faster to what is, and then I can start to make the changes. And so surrender to what is, recognize where you're at, and then start to create the life that you want because you have the power. You are the creator of your life. You literally can choose. You have free will to choose what it is that you do want. You don't have to
mm.
wait for someone to save you like I was, and then try to save other
So
people. Start with
beautiful.
yourself.
That's so beautiful. And just pausing for a second, taking that moment and just connecting with yourself and who you are, what you're feeling, and just loving yourself because we are so hard on ourselves all the
Mhm.
time. And I used to be if I can't go all out, the is my way or the highway. If I'm not perfectly eating all day long, then I'm like, F it. I throw in the towel and just eat junk or
Yeah.
something. That's like just
Yeah.
and it's just so unhealthy-ish. So Carrie, so I know we mentioned like the adrenal fatigue and the emotional stuff when it comes to like anxiety and kind of digging deep into ourselves, what's going on and pausing and recognizing how our body feels, what's coming up. And foods, yeah, we mentioned foods like eating the right nutrition. And can you just kind of touch on that because there's so much like noise out there when it comes to nutrition. Like what is right? You have all the different diets, the keto, the carnivore, the low carb, the vegan, vegetarian. It's so confusing for people. Like
Mhm.
how do you choose like what is good? What is considered good vital food for people, or is it different for everyone?
Yeah, I think it's it can be similar and different for everybody, depending on where someone's at. So somebody's like detox could be my retox, depending on if they're coming from a standard
Mm.
American diet and they're just like avoiding processed food, but they eat a lot of, cooked stuff still. So everyone's coming from a different place. And so I say take it to your next best level because what I eat might be too extreme for some people, but I feel good in my body. So really the point is when you eat, are you hungry? When you eat, how do you feel after you eat? Do you have symptoms? Do you have low energy? Like, does it give you energy or does it make you want to take a nap? And I often notice a lot of people, after they eat a big cooked meal or a big meal with a lot of different things, because I think they need to get all this nutrition in, they get tired, and want to take a nap. So is your food fuel for energy? And yeah, and noticing your own patterns for are you eating this for suppressing something or avoiding something? I say, if you want more life and more energy, eat more live, living foods. That's what I've and I remember when I first learned about like eating more raw foods and things, I was thought I needed to eat like celery and carrot sticks. And I was like, well, that didn't fill me up. Like, so I didn't
Yeah,
know. So I
yeah.
had to really, I've tried all the different diets and I noticed a big difference with bringing in a lot of more hydrating fruits. I noticed a huge difference in my life. Now everyone's different. And I like to eat seasonally. So I say eat what's in season. So I do a lot of watermelon in the summer. And then whatever I'm growing in my backyard, I like to eat a lot of like greens and different herbs and making salads out of the garden. I harvest a lot of herbs for teas. I love to make, I'm growing like chamomile for the first time this year, and it's so different fresh. And so just knowing how your body feels. And I say, if you're like, I don't know where to start, we are connected with these 30-day transformations. And I like to say do 90 days because really 90, you notice a big difference and you create these healthy habits. But in 30 days, you can see a lot of changes happen by bringing in the foods that are grown in regenerative soil. So no matter what diet you follow, know where your food comes from, whether it's animal protein or fruits and vegetables. It's do the best you can with where you're at, um, and what you have access to. And that's why I like the Purium stuff that we're connected with because it checks all the boxes for me. It's grown in regenerative soil, picked at peak ripeness, wind dehydrated so enzymes are intact, and then packaged in a biodegradable bag. And
And
so
they taste amazing. Like
yeah.
they're like the best tasting, whether it's protein shakes or superfoods, whatever you use, or they're incredible. Even like my niece, like younger kids, like love it. Like it's just so yummy. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and your body will tell you, right? And that's why when I first was introduced to it, I was really hesitant because I'm like, we should just all eat
mm,
backyard and local
yeah.
and fresh. But it's really helpful for especially if you're traveling or on the go or especially traveling. And if you're wanting your kids to get more fruits and vegetables in and they're not eating it, you can, put it in a smoothie or smoothie bowl. My son loves it. He asks for green drinks every day. And they do taste good and it's nice you can mix and match them and there's no sugar, artificial anything. It's all real whole foods
Mm.
and no isolated chemistry in any of the things. Like they just came out with a new formula I'm excited about for women. It's called perimenopausive or something positive. I can't
Oh,
remember, but anyhow,
yeah. I saw
it's
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to help women going through menopause and helps with hormone balance. I mean, the formula looked really good. I wanted to just try it out just to see how it works on my body. I'm not going through menopause, but it's great for balancing hormones and different things. So it's all the formulas are really good and sourced in a good way. And I think with anything, right, we want to know. And once I saw Forks Over Knives, you can watch all these documentaries and see what's happening in these factory farms. And if we take on these animals that have anxiety for about to
Yeah.
die and that we eat that and we take on that energy. And so if you're seeing people that
Mm.
have this like animalistic energy of like chickens that are like go 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 or like busy 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 and then if they were caged or in a all put together and then they have all these you don't know what diseases they have or what things hormones and things they're injecting
Mm.
into this chicken and then we eat that and we might get an adrenaline boost, right? Because they release steroids when they right before they pass, or all that adrenaline is going through their body before they're killed. And then we take that on. And so sometimes people think, oh, I feel better from having this. And it can kind of be that same stimulant like coffee, of like, oh, I need my meat. So that's one thing I've heard. I feel like I don't need it anymore like I used to. And so I'm not saying that if somebody does eat it, just know where it comes from. Know that, where the animal was and how it was treated. And I feel like, yeah, that makes a big difference, but I just choose not to do that because I don't feel we need to eat that to be healthy in my body. Now everyone's different, and I respect, everyone's where everyone's at, but in order to help clean things out too, you want to clean the terrain, and like, animal protein probably isn't the best thing to clean the terrain type of thing. We need more of the hydrating, alkalizing things. So there's a time and season for like higher fruits or different fruits and herbs and different things to help clean the body. And it's nice to work with someone who knows what they're doing because there's an art to detoxification, of like knowing when to step it up and knowing when to, back it down. And there's ways to step on the gas and the brakes,
Mm.
and really listening to your body, because your body, will start to clean things out. And that's when I just kind of went full throttle when I first started. And so I got a lot of mucus and congestion out of my body. So I really wanted to clean faster. But you don't have to go fast like that. And I've seen some people that try to do that, and then that's tough on their adrenal glands. So
Mm.
it's really transitioning in a way that's for you and that can look different for each person. But ultimately, I think most people, I feel like universally, could clean things out just with our world where it is with all the toxins and environmental toxins like the glyphosate that's in our air, food, and water
Mm.
systems. It's hard to
Yes.
completely avoid that. As much as I, vote with your dollar, of if more and more people are voting with their dollar, we're saying no to these things. That's where we have the
Mm.
power to make that change. And so the more people that have the awareness of this, and for those who don't know, glyphosate is the ingredient in Roundup. They spray it on our food. It's the stuff people spray to kill their weeds. It goes into the water, it goes into the air, and we're breathing that in. And so the more people that have this awareness, it's because it's patented as an antibiotic. It literally stands for against life. It kills all the good, all the bad, everything. And same with our guts. And a lot of people are having digestive issues with that. So yeah, sometimes I can get off on a tangent.
So incredible. There's
Yeah.
just so much, the
Yeah.
water you drink, the food, the source of your food, there's a you eat what you eat eats, right? Like also
Uh,
like if the cow, if you let's say you eat cows, like let's say they're pasture raised, right? Like out in the grass, eating grass and being outside. That's very different versus like being stuck inside of the barn or whatever they're at, eating like grain, like stuff that's full of glyphosate or stuff like the grass that's sprayed with glyphosate. It's just so incredible how much stuff there is. What kind of water they drink, right? Like, are they drinking, water from the faucet or from, it's just so, it's so many things. And it's so incredible how just changing just very few, and you're starting like change one thing, like start,
yeah.
let's say with water or, make sure
Mhm.
you're drinking good quality of water because there is so many chemicals that they put in tap water. And then maybe from there next week or next month go to something else so it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as far as the adrenals go, like what are like three kind of simple things that you can add to your diet or your lifestyle that just kind of helps regenerate or helps the adrenals? I know there's some adaptogenic like herbs and stuff. Like, are there like any things that you recommend, like that's easy for people to get?
Yeah. Well, the breath work, right? Of just like connecting in and giving your adrenal gland some love, or just like taking some breaths and putting your hands like right above your kidneys is where they are. And so just connecting with them, that could be something simple of I'm listening now. And then bringing in more hydrating, alkalizing foods is always helpful, and with where you're at. And then like ashwagandha, I know is really good adaptogen and great for the adrenals. If somebody has low blood pressure, licorice root is helpful to bring it up. But if somebody has high blood pressure, they wouldn't want to take licorice root. But sometimes that can be a boost. And sometimes I recommend glandulars if somebody's really low, to really like kind of wake them up. So it just kind of depends on where somebody is at with their symptoms. And I say first start with diet and lifestyle before like taking supplements even,
Mm.
because a lot of things can be remedied with that. But the company we're connected with, they have a formula called Be Energetic that has a lot of great things in it for the adrenal glands. And I would just say take that for 1 month to kind of wake them up, give them a boost. And then as you're making these diet and lifestyle changes, because it's all about getting to the root, it's not just taking this to fix it. It's understanding it, giving it the support, the environment that's helpful to help it thrive.
Mm,
And so, yeah, to me, a big thing is like simplify, and less is more. And like cleaning things out sometimes can be where you gain so much more. I mean, how good do you feel when you come home to a clean house versus a messy house and things are all out of order? You feel so much different. Same thing, I mean, how does our body feel when things are messy in there? And we don't know what that looks like, but we can know by our symptoms. You know, if someone has a bunch of skin stuff coming out, what's happening on the inside? Yeah, if somebody's anxiety and having to be on medication, there's some internal work that needs to that the body is asking for. And
mm,
so instead of suppressing and running, we use that as, okay, thank you for sharing what I need to do. And now I'm going to actually listen, and giving yourself grace, just as pretend you're talking to that 5-year-old little girl or a little boy of, okay, I'm listening now. Like, what would you say to that little kid? And talk to yourself in those ways, and start to make changes. So just bringing in more real whole foods is such an easy place to start.
that's wonderful. That's so helpful. I mean, it's even helping me. I don't have anxiety per se anymore, but I mean, there's moments where I do get anxious, and all those things are helpful. And what happens when we are stressed or have a lot of anxiety going on, we like stop doing all those things, like going for a walk outside, breathing, eating good. When you're stressed, you just want to eat just junk or stuff. So just like bringing that back into your body, into your mind, and just remembering, just creating those habits, daily habits, whether it's waking up in the morning. I wake up every morning at least an hour before work, and I do breath work, I meditate, I journal. It's journaling has been transformational for me. And I feel like that's why how I discover or digged out the whole stuff from the past, like through
Mhm.
journaling. I literally will journal sometimes and things will come up and I'll just like tears will just stop running down my face. It's just, I never, I would journal like before, I would journal like once in a blue moon, like maybe like once every couple weeks when things were happening or exciting stuff or not exciting stuff. But now I do it consciously every single morning and it's been just incredible. Even like, going back to last month, I'll go back and like reread the things that I wrote, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like look at this. This is so cool. And at the end of each month, I uh I put like a little category and say all the things I'm grateful for
Mhm.
that I did in July, the grateful things, the acts of kindness that I did, or the things that made me happy. And a lot of times there'll be like pages that I write down because we quickly forget the good things. Our brain holds on a lot of times to like the negative or the fight and flight stuff. And so we have to like when you create that practice of like recognizing like the good things that we did, like patting yourself on the back. We don't do that enough. We are like
Mhm.
our worst critics, right?
Mhm.
Instead of just being just the support, the being just kind to yourself, like you've mentioned, Karri. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
incredible.
And I love that what you focused on grows. And so focusing on the good,
Mm,
and then the good gets better. And so
absolutely.
getting those thoughts out too can be really helpful. So if you are busy and you are anxious, it's journaling is a great way to get that out and get clear. So you can kind of brain dump too, and that could be helpful. Like brain dump your ideas. Another thing is like don't look at your phone first thing in the morning. Actually, 'cause you're
Yes.
in this like meditative state, like that's a great time to meditate, connect in with your body, be in gratitude, like just gratitude. I woke up today. Not everybody wakes up today. So
Yes.
it could, if you're grateful, if you don't know what to find gratitude in, it could just be like I'm breathing still, and start there. And I love that you said you journal, because that's a huge piece that could be really helpful for people to just get things out.
Yeah. And gratitude is huge too. When you're grateful, you cannot be in fear.
Hmm.
Gratefulness, like fear doesn't exist in gratefulness. And yeah, that's beautiful. For people that would like to work with you, or that people that want to find you, how can they work with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at karritidwell.com, or even on my Instagram, Karri Tidwell, Karritidwell. You can send me a message there. I have a free guide on Instagram if you follow that link. And then I'm working on creating a course that I've been wanting to do for several years. So just getting systems and things put in place. I have to learn a bunch of stuff that's like not my favorite thing to learn, but I want to the structure and the systems and the organization that I didn't grow up with to have for me to be able to support everybody because I had the tendency to like yeah, I want to help and I'd give my time so much where I was like not balancing family and work and all these things. So I have those tendencies to do that, overgive. So I'm wanting to now like create it in a way where it feels good and it feels good to be of service and have that space and that foundation for people. So I'm in the process of working on that right now, which I'm really excited about because I have so much knowledge I've acquired over the last 20 years. I don't want to die with it. I want to get it out for my kids and
Mm.
their kids and just these simple truths that can be easily forgotten with the busyness of life and also have a supportive place for people to go because I just have a lot to share and it's hard to do it sometimes in one or two sessions. But I do work with clients one-on-one until as I'm transitioning into the group stuff. And that's like, yeah, my comfort zone, but I'm excited for what's to come with the group things.
Oh, that's awesome. Incredible. And I love watching you grow and just like really over this last year or so that I've met you, you've helped me so much in so many different ways with the different products that you recommended and just the way you are. You just got such a beautiful soul. And so I want to acknowledge you for wanting to share this information, wanting to help others, and most importantly, just giving people hope that there is hope if
Mhm.
you want the help, that there's so much hope and you can get better. It might take time, but it is so worth it. It's our body and our life, and it is there's we can't put time limit on it, like
Mm.
I've been doing all this stuff to my body for these 20 something years, and I can't expect it to like snap my fingers and fix all of it within a month or two. So being patient is just so important with
Yeah.
this. And I know we could talk about this topic
Oh my
forever because there's so much to it. There's like
Yeah.
one area and then you fix that, then you go to it's just so much. And we didn't even touch on the whole social media aspect, how it
Mhm.
affects. But,
Mhm.
first thing in the morning, yeah, don't check your social media. Don't look at your phone because then you giving your attention to the chaos out there, the what's going out in the world, the news. Like I never turn on the TV in the morning or really ever throughout the day because I don't want to be distracted. Those things will be there, but if you
Mhm.
allow yourself to focus on those things, they are gonna make you feel certain way. You can't help it when you see all this negativity out there. And I'm not saying to be ignorant to what's going on in the world, but sometimes, you can control what you can control. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that we cannot control out there. And if we continue to focus on those negative things or, whatever is going on in the world, then we can't, it just only hurts us inside.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I had to figure out when I was learning about all these different things years ago, watching documentaries that were really sad. And I felt this like weight of the world, right? Of
Mm,
feeling hopeless and helpless and like, how can I change it? And it starts with you. It starts with yourself. It starts with you taking care of those little fish in in those cells.
yes.
It starts there because that has a ripple effect that you
Mm,
might not even fathom. So when you take care of you, you help I feel like the world. You radiate different. You help your family more.
yes.
And in turn that helps the world. If everybody took responsibility and ownership and took care of their health and felt good, this world would look so different. And so yes, I want to do these I envision this world to be a certain way, but also it's exactly where it needs to be right now. Just like when you walk in the forest, are all the branches perfectly straight? It's like no, some go a
Mm,
different way, but it's perfect. And so just like our life, like yes, we've had these different things occur, but it's happening for us to evolve to a place of more harmony within ourselves. And so our parents had to go through what they had to go through to teach us what we needed to learn. And I know that my kids are here to teach me something. And so we can just all learn from each other of that in just better ways and knowing that everything's perfect. And then from there we can have make a conscious choice to do things in our desired outcome and having grace along the way. So Yeah, we could definitely talk about this all day. But hopefully these are some helpful things that people can apply. And thank you for your sweet words and thank you for sharing your voice and taking care of yourself. I love that you're, in the medical field, but open to other ways. And merging both worlds, I feel like is what we need to do instead of like, this is good or bad. It's like, no, it's all here for a reason and we can learn from it, right? If we want to live a different way, there's options.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Carrie, for your time. I know there'll be more of these amazing conversation between us because I just love the how you explain things and how you relate the analogies that you use, like the fishbowl with the little fish. I mean, that's so incredible and just makes it so much easier for people to like, oh, okay, well, I want to treat my body certain way because I want that fishbowl, the water in my fishbowl to be clean and my fish to be healthy. And it's just it's so easy to understand and it's just so inspiring too. It's given me hope. It's given me so much hope with just health and the world out there. And that's why I want to continue sharing this journey and bringing people like yourself to share their journey and show people that there is hope and you can, if you want to, you can get
Yeah.
better and feel at your best because
Mhm.
that's what we're designed for. We're designed to feel amazing and age gracefully and not get, like the societal get old and once you turn 40, this is what how your body breaks down. That's the opposite. We're both in our 40s and
Mhm.
I've never felt better. I've never felt better. It's
Mhm.
just it's incredible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And it starts with you, starts with me. And then it's amazing what unfolds and then when you clear things out, you're more in touch with your intuition of where you need to go next. And things
absolutely.
will start to unfold effortlessly. And that's such a beautiful thing. And that could be a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and that's a
So,
good point too. Don't let this stress you. This is not meant to stress you, like, because there's so much. Just do one thing at a time, and the next steps will come up. Your body will tell you, your mind will tell you if you open up and listen and be
mhm.
intuitive and just really connect with your inner self, what you truly need. And and the people in your life, you'll get connected with certain people like you,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the other people that I've met since I've been changing, doing stuff in my life, that changing my whole lifestyle. And it's really, really, yeah, ripple effect and just connecting. Life will send you people on your way. Everybody is in your life. I truly think they are meant to be in your life for a
Yeah.
reason and a
Exactly.
season. Some stay for a very long time, some stay for a short period of time, and that's okay too. And it's
Mhm.
just yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. That and our relationships and our life is a mirror of what's happening on the inside. So if we get triggered by something or upset about something, that's also a good starting point to see, okay, where is that coming from? Or why do I get so upset when I see that person in this way? Or you could start to just look at your relationships as a mirror because we're all connected, we're all one. And so like what you see in me, I see in you. And
Mm.
so we're all so anyhow, just like our life is a mirror too of happening on the inside. So that's also something that is helpful to even in relationships. And I feel like sometimes those closest relationships are the most transformative and
Oh
helps you
yes.
grow because they're great mirrors of like, and yeah, I'm going through stuff with my husband right now. Where it's like he's helping me grow and I'm helping him grow, but it took a while to see that instead of get like, no, you should be this way. It's like we all have different
Mhm.
perspectives and different gifts to contribute and learn from each other. And so can we listen to that other perspective without getting upset about it because it's true for them. And so yeah, anyhow, that's a whole nother topic, but
I know so many great topics
yeah,
that we can talk about next time, next
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And I
time.
do want to
But
respect your time, Carrie. Thank you so much for jumping on this podcast and taking your time to share all your information. I'm looking forward to sharing this with everyone, and I'm looking forward to talking to you more and getting more amazing topics out there. So thank you so much, Carrie.
yeah, thanks, Monica.